most painful experiences in my life. They're promoting you. Captain Riggs. Captain Murtaugh. Better reload. Think we can stay off the streets and out of trouble? Yeah, absolutely. And take aim. Because your number is up.
What happened?
That's some bad Chinese.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the classic 1998 Lethal Weapon sequel, Lethal Weapon 4. The film is directed by Richard Donner and stars, of course, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, with Joe Pesci, Rene Russo, Chris Rock and Jet Li. This time round, Riggs and Murtaugh are taking on the Chinese triads. They are following up after a ship kind of crashes into the bay, full of slaves, essentially. Murtaugh's not going to stand for that. He kind of takes a family under his wing illegally, trying to keep them safe. But it turns out that they are crucial to some Chinese triad gangsters. Because they're trying to get some huge gangsters released. This leads them into a direct confrontation with this Chinese triad as well as Jet Li. Right. What are my thoughts on Lethal Weapon 4? Well, I've got a really soft spot for this one. I think this is... A lot of people think this is the weakest Lethal Weapon film. For me, I don't feel it. I mean... As I've said in all of them that I've reviewed, I wouldn't like to rank. I'm not really a fan of ranking films anyway. But I don't think this is the weakest, if I'm being particularly honest. But they're all good, in my opinion. Anyway, I think this kind of rounds off the series beautifully. You know, the whole Father of the Bride 2 storyline, you know, where Murtaugh's going to be a granddad and Riggs is going to be a dad, is, you know, woven into the story really, really well. The whole bits that are added in here, you know, the fact that time's starting to catch up with Riggs now as well, and he's starting to lose his edge, and he's as well, he's getting too old for this shit. That's quite a nice little storyline that they weave in there, and I do think that the film has some memorable villains here. Number one, we've got Jet Li, and this was his first American movie. And wow, what an impact. I believe they offered it to Jackie Chan initially, but he didn't want to play a bad guy. So they brought Jet Li over, who was obviously a megastar over there. And he was made a massive impact, Jet Li, in this film, in my opinion. Apparently, as well, Richard Donner actually had to ask him to slow down in the fight sequences because the camera couldn't register some of his moves. Don't know how true that is, but it is been reported that was the case. And the idea of Riggs going up against Jet Li in a fight scene in this film was like, you know, we all wanted to kind of see that. But then we've got as well Uncle Benny, played by Kim Chan, who was fabulous. I mean, essentially he's a bad guy here, but he's so likable. And that scene at the dentist where, you know, they're trying to get information from Uncle Benny and they all get high on laughing gas, for me is one of the standout scenes in any of the Lethal Weapon films. It's just fabulous. And when Uncle Benny's, you know, confessing to sleeping with his wife's sister and stuff, it's just brilliant. I mean, it's so brilliantly done by them all. Joe Pesci returns, of course he does. The chemistry is still fabulous between all three of them. And I really, even though there's some people kind of ridicule Joe Pesci's speech at the end of the film where he's talking about, you know, his rat sort of thing. Is it? No, Froggy. And how it died and stuff. And, you know, you see Joe Pesci doing what Joe Pesci does, act brilliantly in that scene, and people kind of thinking, he was only talking about a frog. And I think they're missing the point here, you know, when he looks at Riggs and he says, you know, I just thought that was relevant, you know, she's not you're not different than Froggy in regards to friends, you're just different. And it is completely relevant to Riggs, you know, when he's trying to decide whether he's going to marry Lorna or not. And I think that's a really wonderful scene where you actually do see that they are true friends, and Riggs has a huge bond with him, really, and they're kind of inseparable. And that's what you come away from this film feeling that they're family now. The characters are shadows of who they were in the first film and even the second film, and they are definitely now a family. Even more so now because they add Chris Rock into the film. Now, you say what you will about Chris Rock in this film. Yes, I do think they made some missteps with him, trying to get aspects of his stand-up routine into the movie. We didn't need that, and I thought that was a poor decision. But the whole idea of him, actually being secretly married to Murtaugh's daughter, Roger's daughter, and the fact that he thinks he's gay throughout the whole film, it's, okay, it's not the most deep storyline ever, but it works, and they kind of seam him into the team quite well here, Chris Rock. But I'm not going to lie, I thought Chris Rock was probably the weakest aspect of this film. Didn't really work. And the ending as well kind of feels a little bit rushed. They get to the point where they're kind of stuck in a rut, really. And then those other two detectives in the station basically solve the case for them. And they turn around and say, I bet I know where this money exchange is going to go down. Follow me. And they go on, and lo and behold, there it is. And you're just kind of thinking, really? There wasn't really much detective work involved there. You just know where they're going to be. So, yeah, there are elements in the script where there are weaknesses here, of course. But I suspect very much, certainly like the last one, I suspect some of it was kind of done on the fly. But even though I do think the ending is rushed a little bit, they still managed to pull off an impressive action sequence at the end. And while we don't get the confrontation that we wanted between Mel Gibson and Jet Li's characters, I kind of wanted to see the Riggs in the first film up against the Jet Li's character in this, to see what we would have got, but we don't. We get like an aging Riggs, who's lost his edge, going up against Jet Li in this film, but he has to team up with Murtaugh. Now, again, that makes sense because they've made Jet Li's character out here in this film to be unbelievably dangerous with his martial arts, and is a killing machine essentially. So you could argue it makes sense that they both have to go after him to take him down, and it is still a very rewarding and fun watch, the fight sequence at the end. And I remember watching it at the cinema and being absolutely on the edge of my seat, because at one point I thought Riggs was going to die. Well, a couple of times you think Riggs is going to die in that fight scene at the end. And then when all that intensity's over, you get that 10 minutes at the end of the film, like I say, where they really take the time to finish the movie properly. You get to see, as I say, that scene between Riggs and Leo, then the hospital scene with the babies, and then the picture being taken and they all saying we're family, and a really great way to sign off the franchise, in my opinion, Lethal Weapon 4. Is it, outstanding? No. There's bits and pieces here and there where you see fight scenes where it's clearly not Mel Gibson. That kind of lets it down a little bit. But still, there are some impressive action moments in this film. I really like the opening to this film as well, with the guy with the armour on, with the flamethrower. I think that's a really fun opening of the movie too. And, yes, okay, it's not in the same levels of the first two, this one, but I think it's a really, really strong entry. And it was a big hit at the cinema as well. It was the second highest grossing Lethal Weapon film. Now, we keep being told that, Mel Gibson is going to direct another Lethal Weapon film in respect to memory of Richard Donner, who sadly passed. I personally can't see that happening. I genuinely can't see that happening. If it does happen, what they're going to do, I don't know. But personally, I can't see it happening. And part of me doesn't want it to happen, because I think they kind of signed off perfectly at the end of this film, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, I've really enjoyed revisiting this action franchise. I'll put some ideas in the chat in a few days, probably. I'm going away on holiday shortly. I'm going to have a think about what kind of franchise to review next. I've got a couple of ideas, and I'll put it to you guys and see what you think. So thanks for joining me, guys, and don't forget to call back on the channel for plenty more reviews and content very, very soon.